You're welcome back to The Big Issue. We are live on 97.3 Citi FM on Facebook as well, and obviously on Citi TV. Earlier in the week, we saw a letter of resignation from two heavyweights in the charismatic fraternity, Archbishop Duncan Williams and the Reverend Eastwood Anaba. They say that they were resigning from the National Cathedral Board because they needed an audit to help restore public confidence and trust in the project. But that doesn't appear to be the case. There is no such audit that they called for in January. And even though they truly will want to be a part of this, circumstances have made it difficult for them to be part of it, and so they were resigning. We've not seen any letter from the presidency accepting the resignation or otherwise. The letter was addressed to the presidency, but we've not seen any response from the presidency yet. Maybe it will come in the days ahead. But as it stands now, they say they are no more part of it, and the matters they cited are not pretty. So let me read a portion of the letter they sent to the president. It said, we extend our profound salutations to you in the name of Jesus Christ. As much as we have met many times over the past 2 years on the issues of national significance, you may recall our request for an appointment with you to specifically discuss the National Cathedral of Ghana, a vision of yours that we share and cherish. We truly understand that the demands of the nation and indeed the world that have been placed upon your shoulders may have prevented the realization of this meeting. Further to the National Cathedral, in January 2023, as trustees of the Board of Trustees, we submitted a draft resolution to the said board resolving the current activities advancing the construction of Ghana's National Cathedral be deferred until the findings of an audit. This deferment included a cessation of activities of the Board of Trustees, specifically our resolution that, quote, in the spirit and cause of transparency and accountability to the Ghanaian people, the current Board of Trustees of the National Cathedral shall appoint an independent accounting firm to audit all public funds contributed to the National Cathedral. The appointment of an auditor shall take place before the deferment of the activities of the Board of Trustees, unquote. Despite our prayers, best hopes, and wishes, unfortunately, a needed audit to help restore public confidence and trust in the consequential project has not been enacted to the best of our knowledge. Since 2023 January, we awaited news to no avail regarding the finding of the audit. We therefore regret, as a matter of conscience and faith, we hereby submit to you our resignation from the Board of Trustees of the Cathedral. We honorably assure you, as we assured the Board of Trustees in January 2023 with the submission of our resolution, that our action in no way impugns the vision or intent of the National Cathedral, but rather ensures that it is advanced and built on a foundation of integrity, efficiency, and quality, while garnering and maintaining public trust and support. We truly owe this to God and to country. We remain confident that one day your vision of a National Cathedral of Ghana that provides a sacred space and infrastructure for formal religious and other activities in the nation, such as the state funerals, presidential inaugural services, the global gatherings that advance faith, peace, reconciliation, stability, and a better world, while supporting tourism as a promising pillar of Ghana's economy, will be realized in our lifetime. We believe that you always stand as the visionary and the architect of this vision, and trust that a dream deferred is not a dream denied. So basically, that's the trust of what they have said. The National Cathedral Board itself has also said a number of things. It says that the attention of the Secretariat of the National Cathedral Project has been drawn to a letter addressed to the President, cited in the media before it's boldened, before board members received copies of the resignation of two of the members of the board, Archbishop Duncan Williams and Reverend Eastwood Anaba. The reason in the letter for their resignation is said to be a lack of any information whatsoever following their January 2023 resolution calling for an audit of the National Cathedral project and a complete cessation of work on the project. First, following the presentation of their resolution to the January 2023 meeting of the board, which the board rejected, but which still found its way to the media, both Archbishop and Eastwood fully participated by Zoom in an emergency meeting the next day, 24th January 2023, to develop a press release on the issue. The press release included information on the audit, which was to be conducted by international audit firm Deloitte. 3, following this, the engagement letter for Deloitte to officially begin the audit was drafted and signed by Deloitte on March 27, 2023, and the setup on their system on May 17, 2023. The expectation was that the first part of the audit was to be completed by July 2023. The audit process so far can be confirmed with the auditors. The board was consistently updated on the process through the chairman and the steering committee, as well as the executive director's report to the meetings of the board. For instance, the executive director's report to the June 5, 2023 meeting included the following updates on the audit. Financial audit. The auditors, Deloitte, are currently in the middle of the audit and are receiving the cooperation of the Secretariat. Similarly, at the September 27, 2023 meeting, the executive director updated the board on the audit and included the following in its written report to the audit. Quote, delayed audit report. The audit report by Deloitte is needed to begin the fundraising campaign. Following a number of delays due to documentation, it is now hoped that the audit will be completed soon to enable fundraising to start in earnest, unquote. Although Archbishop and Reverend Eastwood Anaba were not present at both the June 2023 and September 2023 meetings, they and all other board members who were not physically present at the meeting were sent copies of all the documents for the board meeting, including the executive director's report. The claim that they have received no information whatsoever on the audit process is therefore false. That's a nice way for big men to say you are lying, you know. But I mean, that's what they have said about that. Said it needs to be stressed that the January 2023 resolution of Archbishop and Reverend Anaba was rejected by the board on 2 grounds. First, their call for a complete cessation of all activity on the project until an audit was done was redundant, as the meeting already had the audit on the agenda. Second, and perhaps more critical, their resolution was rejected because of its linkage to the 2024 elections. As Archbishop Duncan Williams explained it, the National Cathedral had become, quote, a trusted weapon, unquote, in the hands of the opposition, which they intend to use as part of their 2024 election strategy. Explaining that he had seen, quote, part of the game plan, unquote, he argued that unless the board agrees to cease all work on the project until the 2024 elections, the opposition will come after each of them, create divisions in the board, and be relentless in their opposition to the project. This was rejected because of the undue politicization of the project this complete cessation would entail. So they continue to say that the Secretariat of the project was not unaware of the numerous attempts to politicize and cause disaffection for the project through fabrications and outright lies. So yes, Dr. Paul Opoku-Mensah signed that. So it appears that the National Cathedral project, keeps getting itself embroiled in controversies, and these controversies never cease. Now, top leaders of the Christian faith in Ghana are resigning from the board, and it's surely not a good sign in terms of people's confidence in the project. I'll start off with you, Kofi, because you know it's your baby. So, I mean, I don't know how the president sees this, but this clearly should be a worry to him that key actors, key members of the charismatic movement in Ghana, Archbishop Duncan Williams, Eastwood Anaba, huge figures. Earlier before them, Dr. Mensa Otabo, another huge figure, Bishop Dag, huge figure, have all resigned from the committee or from the board, citing one reason or the other. If you read Bishop Dag's explosive resignation letter, for example, he raised a lot of issues about financial impropriety, contracts being given, people, and they are supposed to be the board members, and they don't know anything about those, and they are just there as board of trustees, and they don't know anything. So he felt that, he did not want to breach his fiduciary duty to the board and to the people of Ghana, so it was better for him to resign. Similar things we are seeing. This should come to the president and the government as a real problem or concern.
Well, I think this should be a concern for all of us. If there is a committee and then people on the committee continue to raise issues whether true or not, and puts the committee in the public space for interrogation. Not interrogation in the sense that analyzing what they are doing, but interrogation in a sense where it even gets to ridicule. I think it calls for concern. You see, I would like to state my personal opinion on this. My personal opinion is that perhaps we relook at the whole approach again. I fully support the building of the National Cathedral. And not just the National Cathedral. I support the building of monuments in the nation. You know, nation building for me goes beyond bread and butter. You know, there are times where we have to commit resources to develop the soul of the nation as well. The question is, how much of your resources are you going to allocate? And we can debate that. But for whatever it is, it has to be a meager portion of our resources, because majority of our resources have to go to the direct impact of the people, like schools, hospitals, etc. But I find no ill in committing a meager sum to developing national monuments, to sort of build the base and the soul of the nation. But for me, I think the approach has been saddled with too many challenges and issues. So it doesn't really hurt if we are to put a pause and re-strategize again. I would almost argue that we need to come up with a national monument strategy where the National Cathedral sits in it, and then maybe come up with a 10-year or 15-year plan on developing that national monument strategy. So we begin to identify the things that are important to us as a people, being it the cathedral, being it statues, being it libraries, being it other important monuments that are necessary for building the nation. And then we give a long time, because you don't want to contribute too much of your resources to it. And then you develop it on a gradual basis, sporadically. You don't want to also center everything in one place. Sporadically in strategic places where it even drives tourism as well. I think if we approach it that way, and we do a national consultation engagement with people, religion, religious entities, traditional entities, the youth, for example, what is important to the youth, and we come up with a broader monumental strategy, then we can execute it within 10 years or 15 years, however we find it appropriately, so that we have a national consensus around it. But as it stands, I think the national consensus, or as it stands, the consensus around the National Cathedral seems to tilt to not in favor of the project. And if you are doing such a project on a national level and people continue to raise concerns, etc., it doesn't help. So I think we need to relook at it again and see how we can bring everyone together, especially where we have already begun the process. If you go to the place, construction has already started.
And it started and it's halted now. The place is becoming weedy.
Okay, I haven't visited recently. Actually, they've barricaded the place,
but you
so you can't really see
and
inside.
people use drone shots and things to capture what's in there.
Okay, so yeah, so for me, that would be my personal take on the issue.
So it must be built, but the approach should be different.
Yes,
Do you think that the way the matter was communicated from the outset divided people on it? You know, describing it or introducing it as a personal pledge to God, and that the church was going to build it. Government was only going to provide the seed money. To date, we don't know what that seed money is. Government is going to provide the land and the secretariat. You know, now later we realized that huge sums of money were being sunk into the project, and that was coming from government. The people, and that wasn't what the people were told, and so that began raising issues, certain contracts, even extending, you know, the project and the cost that came with it, etc. That started making people, you know, in fact, the citing of it itself caused some division.
And that's where I was coming. I think the issues have been gradual, you know, because it started with when Samseladi Anyanyanini raised the issue of the location, because there were some judges who were there. Then it graduated into other challenges gradually. So, and then, you know, because I recall that when the president first launched the trustee, there weren't much issues with it. I mean, I didn't see much brouhaha in the media space until Samson did his story. And then people started asking, but why would you move a cathedral why would you move judges and put a cathedral there? Then the issue started. At least that's my recollection of what transpired.
And when David J was the one unveiled as the architect, and people started asking, why is this particular gentleman the architect for almost all the big ticket projects in Ghana, the Marine project, you know, trade fair, and a lot of projects came up, and that also raised some issues.
Yes, and that's why I'm saying that it's been gradual. You know, we've had countless issues coming up, picking up one at a time, and now we are here. And that's why I'm saying that it doesn't hurt to pause, re-strategize, reconstitute the team. I think I heard you saying that the church, I don't know if it's you who said it.
So
proposed
it's part of the thing we will discuss. I'm former general secretary of the Christian Council, Reverend Dr. Opuni Frimpong. He said the idea that the state is funding it with the sums we are seeing is strange to him because they were told that the church was going to build it, and that was what they were doing. And so he thinks that the state should pause and let the church take over. I don't know how government sees that. But Adam, your side is not being very happy about the goings on in the construction of the National Cathedral. But it will not be bad for Ghana to have a National Cathedral with all the things we've been told, Bible Museum and things in there, so that major events could be held in it. It will add to the beauty and monuments of Ghana. Why are we so opposed to it?
So let me first issue a disclaimer before I answer your question. And the disclaimer is that I am a very committed Christian, and I am not against building a church or a place of worship for God. In fact, as a politician, one of the things I do regularly is to contribute willingly, donate towards the building of churches, mission houses, and all of that, even sometimes outside my constituency, because as a Christian, I do believe that when I give and contribute towards such projects, in return, the Lord blesses me with many more things that I want in life. So I am not against the building of a house for God or a place of worship. But having said that, Salom, this whole National Cathedral project is the biggest scandal any government, the biggest scandal since independence. It has become the biggest avenue for corruption, for people to siphon money, for people to engage in the most senseless expenditure ever with our public funds. And I am surprised that people are not outraged. People are not angry about this project. And we discuss it as if it is just one of those normal topics for us to comment about. Salom, right from day one, the project has been built on a foundation of deception and lies. And I'm surprised we want to build a house for God on deception.
Why so? Why deception?
The president told us that it was his personal project to appreciate God for what he has done for him.
But is there anything wrong with it?
And there's nothing wrong. If the president, after several years in public office, got elected into the highest office of the land, the president of the Republic of Ghana, the gateway to Africa, decides to use his personal funds, his family properties or resources to build a house for God, hallelujah, we should all worship and thank him for that. And so, right from the genesis, some of us had no problem with the president embarking on this project, if it was a personal project. And, Salom, one thing many people forget is the fact that the day the president was sworn into office, the morning before he reported to the Independence Square to be sworn in, that is when he passed by this place to cut sword, because it was something he thought he was doing, or we thought he was doing, in his personal capacity. And so nobody.
No, but how could we have thought that he was going to build it in his personal capacity?
Because that is what he said.
But he has vision.
We are supposed to believe the president when he speaks.
Yeah, but his vision is his personal vision he has for the country.
He has a personal vision, or had a personal vision, to build a national cathedral. It was never part of any of his promises that he made in 2016. And so when he says I want to build a house for God as my personal property, why not? I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. But he lied to the entire nation that it was supposed to be a personal property. Then all of a sudden,
did he say personal property?
No, a personal vision. Personal,
okay, yeah.
So if it's a personal vision, if I build a church, no, but if I build a church, if I build a church, it can be a personal property. If I'm doing my personal,
but this was not a personal property, personal vision.
Away from that,
pledge actually,
he made a personal pledge. Then they told us that apart from giving land or facilitating the acquisition of land, the state, Ghana as a state, will not make any commitment of funds into the project. Then one day we woke up to the.
How about the seed money?
What they stated
or the
as
seed money will come in the land.
No, yes, that was stated as, because a gentleman took them to court, and then in the ruling they said the land, the acquisition of the land and all of those documentations is what constitutes the seed money.
Is it a Kabila case?
The Bonfair case. As we speak, we woke up one day to the news that huge sums of money from the public funds, consolidated fund, were committed to the project. And when the minister was hauled before Parliament,
it's a contingency vote.
He said it was contingency vote. My goodness. This is clearly the working of a criminal gang. You had no. You see, some of these issues are not issues that we should be beating around the bush. That you told us that public funds will not be committed to a project, and then you pass behind us, commit millions of Ghana cedis. As we speak, $58 million have been spent on that useless project, that senseless, ridiculous project. A hole that has become the most expensive and the most useless. And we are not calling out the finance minister, we are not calling out the president, and we are accepting it as just one of those normal things.
Before Parliament.
It is not just about audit before.
Yes,
we are not angry enough. That is why they are taking us for granted.
Parliament didn't say anything wrong with what he was doing.
You see, Salom, right from the beginning, we had very, very important buildings at where the cathedral is now being located, including the scholarship secretariat. All these buildings were relocated. As we speak, there is a company in court seeking for payment of judgment debt because their properties, they were relocated unfairly, and they are in court seeking for government to pay. And government may be spending hundreds of millions of dollars in compensation to this company. And so even if
hundreds of millions of dollars.
Yes, we are talking about
how much dollars? How much is the project?
It is the company is seeking there's a real estate company seeking compensation worth over $100 million.
Wow.
No, because they are the land, the properties, and all of that. But that is the court.
But when the court to grant you that,
that's what I'm saying. But that is what they are seeking, and so I'm making. You and I cannot determine that here. But what is being decided, the figure is what they are seeking.
No, but you see, I can say 100 billion.
Yes,
the court will.
Of course, I get
so that is for the court. That's what I'm saying, that they are seeking.
Okay, sure.
Now, Salom, you have all this. We have land in this country, okay, at other places. All of a sudden, for whatever reason, whether it was a directive from God, whether it was whatever, we can't just comprehend how the president decided to relocate and even demolish newly built judges' bungalows.
It wasn't newly built.
And
some of them have been there for a while.
Some have been refurbished. But when you say in building, in real estate, when you say new
training institute and a few
judicial training institute has to be relocated. Several amounts or several dollars, millions of dollars to be spent relocating all this, and you find nothing wrong with the fact that of all the locations in this country, President Akufo-Addo. No, listen, President Akufo-Addo, sitting at the Jubilee House like an Arabian king, monk, decided that this is why I want to locate my personal pledge of a cathedral. All these the president has not been fair to their country, and that is where he wanted to locate it. All these buildings have been demolished. Then you start the project, you told us our money will not be packed. As we speak, they launched a certain short code and said the churches, Ghanaians will contribute. You have even chief imam and other respectable, noble people in this country contributing some money to the project. But as we speak, almost all the $58 million that have been spent so far are public funds. Why are we doing this to ourselves? And that senseless, useless, ridiculous project sits there. It is the biggest scandal, the most ridiculous scandal ever. And people must be made to answer questions. Look, where we are today, we are not angry now. Do you know what 58 million can do?
What should we do now?
But as we speak, even the contractors are demanding that government owes them $52 million. So when that is paid, we are talking about $110 million wasted in digging a pit simply because the president, who has no vision for this country, decided that in fulfillment of his personal fantasies, locate a certain build. No, because that what else can explain this? But you see, you asked a very important question about the country having monument, and I want to get back to the point that Kofi was making.
I will take a break and
let's forget about this. You see, Kofi, don't even drag us to anything about monument. This is not going to be a monument. I have lived in Italy before, and the places, I mean, the cathedrals that attract tourists have some historical antecedent or significance that attracts the tourists. You can't just stand up and put up. There's nothing unique about that project they wanted that will attract. What is the history behind it? What is the history behind it? When you go to a city like Florence, okay, or in Italy they will say Firenze, where you have some cathedrals that attracts lots of tourists every year. The history behind it, some has to do with how they even the building came about, how many years they have spent building it, and all of that.
This one will be that we built it in a very short time. This cathedral, a cathedral that you have supposed men of God with double identities parading. You see, this cathedral is the biggest embarrassment to the government, and I'm wondering why the media takes it so lightly. People must be prosecuted for this step. The media doesn't prosecute.
This is an issue we've been discussing.
110 million gone down the drain. 110 million gone down the drain. And I'm saying that, Salom, all those on it. And I'm happy that some respectable men of God, like the Archbishop, are resigning from this thievery so that they will not be associated with it. But those who remain there, people must be prosecuted for this thievery. This is the biggest scandal, the biggest theft ever to the Republic of Ghana. And President Akufo-Addo must be ashamed of himself.
Very well.
We don't do this.
Let me take a short break. I'll come back and hear from Selom, and possibly we'll go back to the relief efforts and conclude from there. This is the big issue. We'll be right back. Don't go away. Yeah, welcome back to the big issue. We're looking at the matter of the National Cathedral. Anytime National Cathedral matters come up, the emotions are high, and we just saw that with then submission and Kofi Tonto's points he raised as well. Selom, well, I don't know how emotive you are about this, but we have started a project. My view is we have started. We must find a way of finishing. We cannot leave that place just like that, a very prime place. And so anytime I'm driving past that place, I try to envision the structure as we have it in architectural drawings there and how nice it will look and all of that. I don't know if you do that. How do we proceed with this? I know the discussion we had in many ways, but the place is there. We've sunk in money. What do we do? Do we leave it that way, or we should say, okay, church, take over. If it will take you 50 years to do it, do it. State, I wash my hands from it. What should be the approach in a minute or two?
First of all, from a project management approach, if you read about the history of cathedral, no cathedral has been built in 4 years, regardless of the amount of technology that is now available. No cathedral has been built in 4 years. So, of course, right from the get-go, this was a project that was horribly thought through, horribly planned, horribly executed so far. And the repercussions are actually a monument in itself to our collective failures as a nation. To the point where you're talking about, before even anything is handed over to anybody, I also align with the calls of the clergy. Those who just resigned from the committee, that there has been a lot of factual misrepresentations with regards to the intentions of the government, especially the president and his aides and all those who support the building of the cathedral from the presidential side. And before anything can be handed over, every city that was spent on this project must be accounted for. We must know where all the monies came, who the monies went to, all the subcontractors, the beneficial owners of the entities that were all contracted to do this, so that we have a very clear idea of where the money went. That should be the first thing. Without that, we cannot hand anything over. I mean, it's already been festering for over a year. It has been festering as a very giant pit, probably one of the most expensive pits in the world. And it is quite clear that, like the Tower of Babel, for instance, it was a pointless exercise. It is quite clear that if you look even all through history, every civilization that built a monument built it from a point of abundance, or from a point where they wanted to express a unique cultural opinion. So you have the Angkor Wat in Cambodia, you have the Eiffel Tower, you have the pyramids, you have all of these things that were significantly indigenous to the ideals of the population, or a local or indigenous religion. We came and wanted to import another religion, because until 150 years ago, even Christianity was not even the most dominant religion in Ghana. Through the work of missionaries, etc., it has become the most dominant religion. Well and good. But then, do you as a nation then suddenly decide to do that? And if we look at even examples from across the world where governments have interfered with religion in this case, you'd realize that right next door, we have had situations where in Cote d'Ivoire, such monuments have become a waste of money. In spite of all of this, the government still went ahead, but went ahead with government coffers, or money from government coffers, to do this. And for me, that alone in itself was one of the harbingers of all the the ridicule that we are having. I will tell you today that if you took 10 Ghanaians and asked them whether they wanted the cathedral, I'm sure 9.5 of them would say that this is one of the most pointless things ever done by any administration in the country.
I see.
So to hand it over now to the church, what is the church going to do with it exactly?
To continue building it?
No, are they going to now take over the plan? Because you see, we forget that churches have their own burdens, churches have their own plans, churches have their own missions. And a lot of the churches, I don't think their mission will be to send very important funds needed for their own community development into a monument that has been besmirched with so much ridicule, with so much, has been tainted so badly that even right from those who head the government-led committee, whose identities are even in question, and almost, I don't know whether it's to be contempt of court or whatever, but whose identities are even the subject of criminal investigations. It makes it such that even for a Christian, an altruistic Christian, it becomes almost horrible to be part of this kind of a journey. Especially if you look in the Bible, you have even Jesus Christ sacking people from the temple because they were using the temple as a place for commercial activity. So these are some of the things that we have to look at. So I even wonder whether even at this stage, it will even be prudent for the church to even take it over at its current location and in the current circumstances. So there has to be a general rethinking and probably a diversion completely from this original National Cathedral plan to something totally different, which would be more involving of the Christian community in this country, which would be a consensus-driven activity and not what we see today.
Thank you. So we've run out of time. Quick message here from Chris in Ashalebuchi. He says, I can't comprehend why government communicators continue to defend the wrongs of this government.
Who has defended it?
We all become like this?
Vaselam, have I
Duncan-
defended anything here?
No, you
haven't.
you are different.
Yeah, so I
Duncan
mean,
and
people should
Eastwood
listen,
have good thoughts
listen well.
for building of the cathedral, but folks in power want us to use it as another cash cow to steal in the name of God. Chris from Ashalibuchi. To build or not to build, just one.
So here's the thing.
No.
I think we should build it.
Okay.
I
But spread
think
it.
it should be a national monument
It should be the
strategy
national
over
plan.
15 years.
Okay.
And let's do it.
Very well.
Yeah.
To build or not to build.
Arrest all those who have been involved in this scandal first, do a proper audit, and then let the audit inform whether a value for money audit will warrant the completion of the project.
Very well. Great one. All right, so we are in the flood affected areas. We'll be bringing you updates throughout the day. This is how we conclude today's edition of the program. My guest, Edem Agbana, former Deputy National Youth Organizer of the NDC and parliamentary candidate for the Ketunov constituency. Selom Brandt, Vice President Imani Africa. Earlier I heard George AEC, Director of Communications in Admo, and Kofi Tonto, member of the governing MPP communication team. My name is Selom Adonu. Catch you same time next week. Have a pleasant afternoon.